dad-perfect events. I closed the bedroom door and pulled out my worn French textbook from under my fishing magazines. My wife Dorothy was downstairs watching her reality shows, volume cranked up like always. She had no idea what I was doing up here every night for the past 16 months. My name's Victor Henley, I'm 58, and I spent 35 years supervising the line at the GM plant in Flint before they offered early retirement last year. Figured I'd earn some peace and quiet. But what I discovered that day at the Cottage in northern Michigan, well, let me tell you the whole story. It started innocent enough. After I retired, I had all this time on my hands. Dorothy was always busy with her real estate business, running around showing houses to young couples who could barely afford them. Our son Curtis lived up in Chicago, working insurance, didn't call much except when he needed something. One day I saw this ad for free French lessons online. Don't ask me why, but something clicked. Maybe it was remembering those French-Canadian suppliers we used to deal with at the plant. I always felt like an idiot standing there while they talked business and I couldn't follow a word. So I started studying, just an hour here and there when Dorothy was out. 3 years back, I mentioned wanting to take a woodworking class at the community center. Dorothy laughed so hard she nearly choked on her wine. "Victor, you're pushing 60, she said, not even looking up from her phone. You'll hurt yourself with those power tools. Besides, we don't have room for another hobby you'll quit in a month." That stung. I'd never quit anything in my life. Spent 4 years in the Marines, never quit. Worked the same job for 35 years, never quit. But after that, I stopped sharing things with my wife. What was the point if she was just going to shoot them down? The French lessons became my secret. Every night after Dorothy settled in with her shows, I'd crack open that textbook. I got pretty good at it too. Started understanding the French radio station from Windsor. Even watched some French movies online with subtitles off. Dorothy had no clue. She was too busy with her garden club, her book club, her real estate license renewal classes. We'd become like roommates who happened to share a mortgage. She made the decisions, where we'd vacation, what furniture to buy, how to spend my pension money. I just went along with it, trying to keep the peace. 32 years of marriage, and we barely talked anymore. Not really talked. She'd ask about my day. I'd say fine. She'd tell me about some client. I'd nod. Then she'd disappear into her phone or her shows. I started eating dinner earlier, just to avoid the silence at the table. I kept thinking about those early years when we were building our life together. Back then, Dorothy listened when I talked about work, about the guys on the line, about the new procedures coming down from management. She'd ask questions, give advice. Made me feel like what I did mattered, like I mattered. But somewhere along the way, I became background noise in my own house. Dorothy decided where we'd go for vacation, usually some beach resort where she could network with other real estate agents. She picked out new furniture without asking my opinion. When I suggested maybe we could take a road trip up north, see some of the places we used to talk about visiting, she'd wave me off. "I don't have time for aimless driving, Victor. I've got showings this weekend." The French studies became my escape. Not just from Dorothy's dismissive attitude, but from feeling invisible. Every verb conjugation I mastered, every conversation I could follow on the radio, it proved I wasn't some washed-up factory worker with nothing left to offer. I was still learning, still growing, even if nobody else saw it. I used headphones when I practiced pronunciation, whispered the words so Dorothy wouldn't hear from downstairs. Started dreaming in French sometimes, which made me chuckle. At 58, my brain was more flexible than Chera had given it credit for. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was, secretly learning the language of romance while my own marriage felt like a business arrangement. Dorothy handled the books, I maintained the property. She scheduled our social calendar, I showed up when required. We shared a bed but barely touched anymore, just two people going through the motions. Then last month, Dorothy came home from work more excited than I'd seen her in years. She burst through the front door, practically vibrating with energy. Curtis found this amazing property. She announced, tossing her purse on the kitchen counter. It's up in northern Michigan, right on the lake. The owners are this French couple, the Dubois family. They're motivated sellers. I looked up from my newspaper French couple. Yeah, they barely speak English according to Curtis. Good thing he studied French in college, right? He'll handle all the negotiations when we drive up there next weekend. She was already pulling up pictures on her phone. Look at this place, Victor. It's perfect for retirement. We could rent it out when we're not using it, maybe even flip it in a few years. I leaned over to look at the screen. Beautiful log cottage with a wraparound porch, sitting right on the water, big windows, stone chimney, private dock. The kind of place I'd dreamed about when I was working double shifts at the plant. How much are they asking? I asked, $18,000? Curtis thinks we can get them down to maybe $155,000. These older European couples, they don't understand the American market. We could probably steal it, steal it. That word stuck with me. Next weekend couldn't come fast enough. I spent that whole week reviewing real estate vocabulary in French. Property terms, legal phrases, mortgage terminology, anything that might come up in conversation. I told myself I was just being thorough, but deep down, something was gnawing at me. Maybe it was the way Dorothy had said steal it with such satisfaction, or how excited she got talking about flipping the property. This was supposed to be our retirement dream, not some business venture. The drive up to northern Michigan took about 4 hours. Beautiful country once you get past the industrial sprawl around Flint, rolling hills covered in maples and oaks, small towns with American flags hanging from every porch. Dorothy spent most of the trip on her phone, fielding calls from clients, texting with other agents about listings. Every few miles, she'd interrupt her business to point out the window and say something like, "Look at that Victorian, bet it's underpriced," or "See that farmhouse?" Classic fixer-upper opportunity. I kept my mouth shut and focused on driving. The autumn colors were spectacular, reds and golds like something out of a postcard. This was the kind of drive Dorothy and I used to take when we were younger, before real estate consumed her every waking thought. We'd stop at roadside fruit stands, take pictures of old barns, maybe grab lunch at some hole-in-the-wall diner. Now she was calculating square footage and market comps in her head. Curtis was already at the cottage when we pulled into the gravel driveway. I had to admit the place was even more impressive in person. Classic log construction with a green metal roof, wraparound porch with rocking chairs, flower boxes under every window. The lot was huge, probably 2 acres running right down to the lake. Private dock, boathouse, even a fire pit near the water's edge. Our son looked sharp as always in his expensive suit and Italian leather shoes. Curtis had always been image conscious, even as a kid. Had to have the right sneakers, the right backpack, the right everything. Dorothy encouraged it, said it showed he had standards. I just wrote the checks. "How was the drive?" Curtis asked, giving his mother a warm hug and me a quick handshake. "Long," Dorothy said, but she was already scanning the property with those appraisers' eyes of hers. "But look at this place. It's even better than the photos. Wait till we see inside." The owners, Jean-Pierre and Colette Dubois, came out to greet us. Nice couple, probably mid-60s like us, with the kind of genuine warmth you don't see much anymore. Jean-Pierre had weathered hands and paint-stained fingers, clearly a man who worked with his hands. Colette wore a simple floral dress and had flower on her apron. They reminded me of my own parents, honest working people who treated strangers like family. Jean-Pierre Dubois, the man said, extending his hand with a solid grip. "Victor Henley," I replied in English. "Thanks for showing us around." Jean-Pierre's English was pretty limited, heavily accented. So Curtis immediately jumped in with rapid French. I caught every word, but kept my face carefully neutral. Curtis was introducing us his mother Dorothy, who runs a real estate business, his father Victor, who doesn't speak French. So Curtis would handle all the translation. Doesn't speak French. First little lie of the day, but probably not the last. The tour started in the living room. Vaulted ceiling with exposed log beams, massive stone fireplace that looked like it could heat the whole house, picture windows overlooking the lake. Colette kept speaking directly to me in French, smiling warmly even though Curtis had said I couldn't understand her. "This room gets beautiful morning light," she was saying. "Your wife will love having coffee here watching the sunrise." Curtis translated it as she says, "The room has nice light." Already he was editing, simplifying. Why not give me the full translation? Did he think I couldn't handle complete sentences? We moved through the house gourmet kitchen with granite counters and professional-grade appliances, 3 bedrooms including a master suite with its own fireplace, 2 full bathrooms with clawfoot tubs. The basement was finished with knotty pine paneling and a wine cellar that Jean-Pierre had built himself. Everything was immaculate, lovingly maintained. "They've really taken care of this place." I said to Curtis, "Yeah, old European craftsmanship," he replied dismissively, "though some of the fixtures are dated. We'll probably want to update a few things." Update, the place was perfect as it was, but I kept that opinion to myself. The best part was the deck overlooking the lake. Colette had set up a small table with coffee and homemade butter tarts, apologizing in French that she hadn't had time to make anything fancier. The view was incredible, nothing but water and trees as far as you could see. A loon called from somewhere across the lake. "Beautiful," Dorothy murmured, and for a moment she sounded like the woman Eid married 32 years ago. Then the negotiation started. Jean-Pierre mentioned the asking price, $18,000. Curtis immediately launched into his pitch in French, citing market conditions, comparable sales, the cost of renovations they'd need to do. I watched him work, smooth and confident, using gestures and facial expressions to emphasize his points. The Dubois listened politely, occasionally exchanging glances with each other. Finally, Jean-Pierre counteroffered at $165,000. Curtis pushed back, mentioned some issues with the septic system that weren't really issues, talked about the remote location affecting resale value. They settled on $155,000, handshakes all around. "We have a deal," Curtis announced in English, beaming like he'd just pulled off the negotiation of the century. "Now we just need to discuss the paperwork and closing details." That's when Jean-Pierre asked the question that changed everything. In French, he said, "For the deed, will it be in all three names, or just your name and your mother's?" I kept my eyes on my coffee cup, my face blank. My heart started pounding, but I didn't move a muscle. Curtis glanced at Dorothy, then answered in French, speaking quickly and casually like he was discussing the weather. "Just mine and my mother's. My father doesn't need to be on the title. His getting older, you understand. Memory issues, we're handling his affairs now. It's simpler this way. Memory issues. Handling his affairs." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I sat there frozen, staring at the lake while my own son discussed my supposed mental decline with strangers. Dorothy chimed in with her broken French, the few phrases Shed picked up from travel brochures over the years. Monmari. Simple, simple. She was calling me simple. To people Shed just met in a language she thought I couldn't understand. Curtis nodded along, adding in rapid French, "Dad's always been a bit checked out, you know. Good man, but not sharp. We've been managing things for a while now. This cottage will actually help because, well, eventually we might need to look at care facilities. Having assets in the right names makes everything much easier when that time comes." Care facilities. They weren't just stealing my money, they were planning to warehouse me. Jean-Pierre shifted uncomfortably in his chair. I could see him glance at his wife, both of them looking uneasy with the direction of the conversation. "I see," he said carefully. "Well, we're just sellers here. How you structure your family arrangements is your business." "Exactly," Curtis said, flashing that practiced insurance salesman smile of his. "So shall we set a closing date? I'm thinking 2 weeks should be plenty of time to get the financing in order." I don't remember much of what happened after that. I sat there nodding when they looked at me, playing the part of the confused old man with memory problems. Dorothy and Curtis chatted with the Dubois about cottage life, local restaurants, the best places to buy groceries. Colette refilled my coffee twice, speaking gently to me in French, probably thinking I was some poor soul losing his grip on reality. The whole time, my mind was racing. 32 years of marriage. 35 years working double shifts when Curtis was little so Dorothy could stay home with him. I turned down better paying jobs in other states because Dorothy didn't want to leave Michigan, didn't want to disrupt Curtis' schooling. I'd supported her through her parents' deaths, her sister's messy divorce, every crisis and drama that came up. And this was my reward, my wife calling me simple, my son discussing my supposed dementia like I wasn't sitting right there. The drive home was torture. Curtis headed back to Chicago, promising to handle all the paperwork and keep us updated on the closing details. Dorothy was in full real estate mode, already planning renovations and calculating rental income. "Wasn't that wonderful, Victor?" she said, scrolling through photos on her phone. "Such a beautiful property. And Curtis really knows how to negotiate. He saved us almost $25,000 off the asking price." Saved us, like I'd had any say in the matter. "Whose names are going on the deed?" I asked, keeping my voice casual. She didn't even look up from her phone. "Curtis is handling all that legal stuff. Don't worry about the details, Victor. You know you get confused by paperwork and contracts." Confused, there was that word again. That night, after Dorothy went to bed, I sat in the kitchen with a glass of bourbon and really thought about what I'd heard. It wasn't just about the cottage. They were positioning me as incompetent, setting the stage for something bigger. The care facilities comment kept echoing in my head. I went to my computer and started researching financial elder abuse, power of attorney fraud, premature nursing home placement. The stories I found online made my blood run cold. Adult children systematically isolating elderly parents, taking control of their finances, then warehousing them in facilities while they spent the inheritance. Was that Dorothy's plan? Had she been setting this up for months, maybe years? I thought about all the times lately Shed mentioned my forgetfulness to friends and neighbors, how Shed taken over paying bills to give me one less thing to worry about, the way Shed insisted on consolidating our investment accounts for simplicity. The next morning, I called my old union rep, Leonard Walsh. Lenny and I went back 30 years, worked side by side through plant shutdowns, layoffs, contract negotiations. If anyone would shoot straight with me, it was Lenny. "Victor, what you're describing sounds like textbook financial elder abuse," he said after I told him everything. "These cases are more common than people think. Family members assuming they know what's best, gradually taking control, convincing themselves they're being helpful. What can I do? You need a lawyer who specializes in this stuff, someone who understands elder law. I've got a name for you. Barbara Ross. She helped my brother-in-law when his daughter tried to pull something similar. I called Barbara Ross that afternoon. When I finished telling her the story, there was a long silence on the other end of the line. Mr. Henley, she said finally, this is unfortunately more common than most people realize. Adult children who convince themselves they're protecting a parent while actually exploiting them. Do you have any powers of attorney documents on file? My stomach dropped. Last year, Dorothy had presented me with a stack of papers. Just some estate planning stuff, Shed said. Standard documents everyone our age should have. I'd trusted her completely and signed without reading every page carefully. We need to get copies of those documents immediately, Barbara said. If she has broad power of attorney over your finances and health decisions, she could potentially do exactly what you're afraid of. That afternoon, I drove to the bank where Dorothy and I had our accounts. I was calm, polite, just an elderly man organizing his financial records for tax purposes. The young teller was helpful, pulling up our statements with a few clicks. What I saw made me sick. Dorothy had been moving money systematically for over a year. Small amounts at first, minus $2,000 here, $3,000 there, minus transferred from our joint retirement account into a personal account he'd never seen before. The balance in her private account was $25,000, $25,000 of my pension money, moved without my knowledge or consent. Then I went to our family lawyer's office. The receptionist had known me for 20 years, handed over copies of our estate documents without question. That night, I spread everything across the kitchen table after Dorothy went to bed. The power of attorney was right there with my signature at the bottom. I'd given Dorothy authority over my financial and health decisions in the event I became incapacitated, but the language was deliberately vague. No clear definition of what incapacity meant. No requirement for medical evaluation before she could invoke it. Barbara reviewed everything the next morning. This document is problematic, she said bluntly, too broad, missing standard safeguards. You need to act quickly but carefully. If your wife realizes you're aware of her plans, she might accelerate her timeline. Over the next 2 weeks, I lived a careful double life at home. I was the same old Victor watching TV, puttering in the garage, agreeing with Dorothy's cottage plans. Meanwhile, I was working systematically with Barbara to protect myself. First, we revoked that power of attorney. I had the legal right while I was mentally competent, and Barbara made sure everything was properly documented. Then we quietly moved my share of our assets into new accounts Dorothy couldn't access. Every transaction was legal, every step documented. Barbara also arranged for me to see Dr. Linda Hayes, a geriatrician who specialized in cognitive assessment. After 2 hours of memory tests, problem-solving exercises, and mental evaluations, Dr. Hayes smiled at me across her desk. Mr. Henley, your cognitive function is excellent. Above average for your age group, actually, I see no signs of decline whatsoever. She put her findings in a detailed written report. The day finally came for the cottage closing. Curtis drove down from Chicago with a briefcase full of documents for me to sign. We sat in the living room, Dorothy and Curtis on the couch, me in my recliner like always. Just need your signature on a few things, Dad, Curtis said, sliding papers across the coffee table, standard closing documents, liability waivers, that sort of thing. I picked up the papers and started reading. Really reading every line, every clause. Curtis shifted impatiently in his seat. Dad, you don't need to read all that. It's just boilerplate legal stuff. I'd like to understand what I'm signing. I said quietly. The first document was an asset transfer, written in dense legal language. If I signed, it'd be relinquishing claim to half our retirement investments and agreeing that the cottage purchase required no financial contribution from me. The second was even worse, a voluntary admission form for assisted living, contingent on family determination of need. I set the papers down carefully. I'm not signing these dead silence. You could hear the grandfather clock ticking in the hallway. Excuse me? Dorothy said. I said I'm not signing, and I think we need to have a serious conversation about what's really going on here. Curtis leaned forward, trying his smooth insurance agent voice. Dad, what are you talking about? These are just standard. I'm talking about the cottage. I interrupted. The one you're planning to buy with money from our joint accounts, while putting only your and your mother's names on the deed. Dorothy's face went white. Victor, you're confused about. Je ne suis pas confus, I said, and watched both their jaws drop. The silence that followed was deafening. Dorothy stared at me like I'd just sprouted wings. You speak French? I've been learning for 16 months. I understood every word at the cottage. Every word about how dad is getting older, has memory issues, needs to be managed. Every word about care facilities and putting assets in the right names. Curtis stood up abruptly. Dad, you're misunderstanding what you heard. I heard you tell the Dubois that I'm not sharp. I heard your mother call me simple. I kept my voice level though my heart was hammering. I heard you planning to exclude me from the cottage purchase, from our own finances, from decisions about my own life. We were trying to protect you, Dorothy said, her voice rising. You are getting older, and we thought. I pulled Dr. Hayes' report from my jacket pocket and placed it on the coffee table. I had a full cognitive assessment last week, above average function for my age group. No signs of decline. Then I added the legal documents Barbara had prepared. I've also revoked the power of attorney you had me sign under false pretenses. And I've separated our finances. My pension money is now in accounts you don't have access to. You can't do that. Dorothy's voice went shrill. That's our money? Half of it is my money, and I have every legal right to protect it from theft. Curtis tried a different approach. Dad, let's just calm down and talk about this rationally. You're obviously upset, but I'm sure we can work this out. You were planning to put me in a nursing home, Curtis. Your own father. Not because I needed care, but because I was inconvenient. Because you wanted my pension money for your real estate investments. For a moment, Curtis looked like the scared little boy who used to come running to me when he had nightmares. What had happened to that kid? When had he become someone who could betray his own father? I want you both to leave, I said quietly. Tonight, this is my house too, Dorothy protested. It's our house, and I've already filed for legal separation. You can stay in the guest bedroom until we sort out the details, but I want Curtis gone, now. The separation was finalized that spring. Dorothy got her fair share. Exactly half, no more. She moved to Arizona to be closer to her sister, and I heard through mutual friends that she told everyone ID suffered some kind of breakdown in my old age. Curtis didn't speak to me for almost a year. Then a letter arrived handwritten with tear stains on some of the pages. A long apology, an explanation about his financial troubles, how his mother had convinced him this was the best solution. He wasn't asking for forgiveness, he wrote, just wanted me to know he was ashamed of what had done. I didn't respond immediately. It needed time to process everything. The cottage deal fell through naturally. I called Jean-Pierre myself, explained what had happened in French. He wasn't surprised. I could tell something felt wrong, he said. The way they talked about you, it wasn't respectful. A funny thing happened after the separation. For the first time in years, I felt like myself again. I took that woodworking class Dorothy had mocked, built a beautiful oak bookshelf for my living room, joined a French conversation group in Flint, met fascinating people from all walks of life. In the conversation group, I met Helen Burt. She was 56, recently widowed, with silver hair and a warm laugh that reminded me what joy sounded like. We started meeting for coffee after class, then dinner, then long walks along the Flint River. You learned French at 58? She asked one evening, clearly impressed. I did. That's amazing. What inspired you? I thought about how to answer that, because everyone told me I was too old, too set in my ways. I wanted to prove, maybe just to myself, that I was more than what they saw. She reached across the table and took my hand. I think that's wonderful. About 18 months after the separation, Curtis asked if we could meet for coffee. Just coffee, he said. No agenda, no expectations. We met at a diner near the old plant, neutral territory. He looked older, tired, but somehow more genuine than the polished businessman Hod tried to steal my retirement. I don't expect you to forgive me, he said before I could speak. What I did was unforgivable, but you're my father, and I threw that away for money. I need you to know I understand how wrong that was. We talked for 2 hours. Not about forgiveness, that might never come, but about the years Wed lost, about what kind of father I'd tried to be, about where had gone wrong. It was painful but necessary. At the end, he asked if maybe we could do this again sometime. Maybe, I said. Well, see, it was a beginning. 2 years have passed since that day in northern Michigan when I overheard my wife and son planning to betray me. I'm 60 now, living in a smaller house that's entirely mine. Helen comes over for dinner twice a week, and we're talking about taking a trip to France together. Curtis and I meet for coffee once a month. We're not close, may never be again, but we're talking, and that's something. I still study French every day. Started Spanish too, and am thinking about Italian. Turns out I have a real gift for languages, something I never knew because I never tried. Sometimes I think about those years I spent making myself smaller to fit Dorothy's expectations. All that time I wasted being invisible in my own life. But I don't regret learning French. That secret skill saved me. It showed me the truth, even when the truth was devastating. And it taught me the most important lesson of all: it's never too late to become someone you didn't know you could be. The French language didn't just save my retirement, it saved my dignity and taught me that the most dangerous betrayal isn't from strangers, but from the people who think they know what's best for you. I learned that sometimes the greatest act of love isn't protecting someone from the truth, but giving them the tools to discover it for themselves, even when that truth changes everything.